conversation in the Elders Lounge, where our goal is to honor, appreciate, and bring you closer to the wisdom of the elders, their insights and ideas that we hope will help you realize your dreams. This is the modern day Ishoto. Ladies and gentlemen, today I am excited and absolutely happy, out of this world, to be honored to have this conversation. The person who is going to speak to us on this week's episode is a seasoned Ugandan lawyer with over 2 decades of legal experience. First worked as a state attorney in the Ministry of Justice and left to join business in Chikubo, where he started off successfully. He was drawn back from Chikubo by his law school friend, Francis Bule, who today is his current partner in Bule and Maigan Company Advocates. Mr. Francis Bule then introduced him to the then legal advisor of the Sabataka, OHT John W. Katende. He was the first administrator, or one of the first administrators of the Sabataka's office, and also the secretary to the Sabataka's Supreme Council. He was at the forefront of the preparation for Kabaka's coronation and one of the lawyers that saw in the Kabaka. He has served as a Minister of Information, stroke spokesman for Waka Waka Uganda, and was also a Minister of Youth, remembered for his great participation in the formation of Nkobazambogo, responsible for the training of many leaders we see today, and is currently the Prime Minister of the Great Buganda Kingdom. A seasoned author, and as we like to say, a total leader. Join me as we welcome OHT Charles Peter Maiga. OHT, thank you so much for this opportunity to speak to us, the future of Buganda, as you like to say. My first question to you is, what is your definition of leadership? What is your leadership style and philosophy?
Thank you very much for having me. First of all, I would like to make one correction. I'm not one of the founders of Nkobazambogo, actually. When Nkobazambogo started in Makerere, I'd left. But the founders, people like Michael Kaoya Mwebe, the CEO of CBS FM, people like OHT David Joalabi Male, Minister for Culture and Heritage, people like Robert Kasozi, the Chief Operations Officer of CBS FM, people like Douglas Muchivi, Private Secretary to the Kabaka, and others came to me when I had just been recruited into the Kabaka's service. And I think they were surprised that they met somebody of their generation, so to speak. And I introduced them to the seniors, my seniors. You were mentioning OHT John W. Katende and the others. But I've tried to correct this impression, but it looks like it will never go away. Everywhere I go, people say I'm one of the founders of Nkobazambogo. But I've worked very closely with them. I think about 4 years after I'd introduced them to the elders in the kingdom, I was made Minister for Youth, where I think I made my stamp, so to speak. And somehow, people never ever bring in the fact that I was not one of the founders, but it's okay. But much of what you've said else is true. The question is, what's my definition
of leadership?
Well, leadership is about finding solutions to challenges. That's my definition of leadership. A leader must understand the challenge. A leader must find solutions to that challenge. If you cannot find a solution to a challenge, if your business is to whine, to grumble all the time, or to blame others, then you're in the wrong place. You shouldn't have been a leader in the first place. That's why, by the way, I discourage people I work with, my colleagues, to come to me with the challenge. Oh, Katikkiro, we've got this challenge. Well, should I tell you mine? A leader, because who works with me is also a leader in his own right. And I expect him or her to come to me and say, there was this, but I think we should do this. A leader must find solutions to challenges. That's what leadership is.
To you, what are the 3 most important skills I know there are many, but what are your 3 most important skills and 3 most important values for a leader to be successful in this era?
First of all, a leader must have his ear to the ground all the time. Because a leader must be abreast with the trends. A leader must know what's going on. Your ear must be on the ground all the time. You must know what's going on around you. I'm not saying a leader should be paranoid, because you've had people have said this about you, then you... No, but you must know what is going on around you. That's 1. 2, a leader must be humble. And humility isn't about, it isn't about being meek. No. Humility is the ability to listen to those below you. Humility is the ability to listen to someone who can't even harm you in your position at all. Because a leader should be able to take in that comes in from those who are way below him. Because after all, it's for them that you're a leader. So you better have the humility to take them seriously. Humility. Thirdly, a leader must have the ability to listen to everyone, but to take his own decision. A leader, I think, should sit down with everybody, listen to everyone, but you must have a position. It doesn't matter whether your position has been shaped by your colleagues, because your decision may be shaped by your colleagues. Whatever way you've arrived at the decision that you've taken, you must have a position. A leader must never be in a situation where he or she can't take a decision. Take a decision, right or wrong, but take a decision. I think those are the 3 major characteristics of a leader.
Thank you very much for that, Owich. When you were beginning in this journey in 1991 or so, what are some of those traits, those characteristics that gave you the idea that you can actually rise and become a top leader in this country?
I never thought I would rise to this level. If somebody told me I could be Katikkiro in 1991, I would think they're crazy. Probably they had a dream or something like that. I never, ever at all thought that I could even become a minister, let alone being Katikkiro. I thought I was making my contribution to reversing what had been denied us as people of Buganda. I grew up in a situation, in a home where my parents constantly said that we had been roughly treated by the regime of Milton Obote. That's what I heard my father say so many times. And I believe that the Baganda have the right to enjoying their cultural freedoms. I grew up believing that. I grew up in a situation. My father was a teacher, but I think he was a great believer in democracy and the rule of law. Because he discussed these subjects many times with his friends and peers. You sit there when elders are talking. In our time, we wouldn't say anything when elders were having a conversation. You just sit, probably you serve them a drink and you go away. You're not even supposed to sit with them. But you overhear them say stuff. That's what I listened to and learned as I grew up. So now my friends remind me, I was in St. Mary's in Kisubi, and even in all level, I was in St. Henry's College in Chitovu. Now friends, when we meet, they say, you used to say these things. I don't even remember them. My friends say I used to say, even in Makerere, that I used to say that the Kabaka shall come back. I don't even remember them. But I believe that the people of Buganda had a right to enjoy their cultural freedoms. Who has a right to deny us what we're entitled to by heritage? Nobody. And I think I got that from my parents, especially my father. He used to discuss these things. So when I went to serve in the Kabaka's council, the Sabataka Supreme Council, as it was then called, in the Secretariat, I had no inkling whatsoever that I would be anybody in this administrative hierarchy. I just thought I was playing my role in reversing what Obote had denied us. And I didn't think I would be there for more than 6 months. I didn't. I thought I would serve 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, probably a year at most, and go away. That's what I thought. So I had no ideas about where I am today. That would be telling you a lie. And I'd never had a strategy of any kind that led me to being Katikkiro, none whatsoever. I served for 3 years as administrative secretary, and I told the Kabaka I wanted to practice law. So Francis Ibule, who picked me from Chikubo literally, now he wanted us to be independent practitioners. So we teamed up and formed Ibule and Mike Advocates. In 1994, actually it's almost 3 decades of legal practice. So we started the law firm. Then 6 months after, I was informed the Kabaka wanted me to be a member of the Buganda Luchiko. And I received the news with lots of joy, because the Luchiko then would sit like once in 3 months. I thought, that's okay, I'll serve. I came here and I was sworn in as a member of the Luchiko. Then about 6 months later or so, I was told the Kabaka wants me to be a junior minister in charge of the Luchiko itself. The minister for Luchiko was Reverend Dan Kajumba. Then we used to call him secretary to the Luchiko, but that was a ministerial position in the Mengo setup. And the Kabaka wanted me to be his deputy. I said, fine. I became a deputy minister in charge of Luchiko. Then a year later, I received news from the Katikkiro that the Kabaka wanted me to be minister in charge of the youth. That was 1996. And of cabinet affairs as well. I said, fine. I became minister for youth and cabinet affairs. Then 6 years later, the Katikkiro called me and said the Kabaka wants me to be minister. On top of being minister for cabinet and Luchiko and the youth, to be minister of information as well. That was in 2002. I said, oh, okay, fine. I became some sort of a super minister. But as you can see, I had no hand whatsoever in my becoming any of those, my fulfilling, my filling those positions. None whatsoever. I think my superiors would tell the Kabaka about the way I was doing things. That's what I can say. I think. Once in a while, I would attend meetings in the palace. Because, when I joined 1991, that was before coronation. And like you said, I'm one of the lawyers who administered the coronation oath to the Kabaka. And I signed, I witnessed his signature on the coronation oath. That's monumental for me. I had no strategy of being any of those things, but none whatsoever. But I think my superiors would report to the Kabaka, the Katikkiro, I think, and other senior people like Ojiti Wakatende and others like the late Godfrey Kayaka. I think they would tell the Kabaka how I was doing, how I was carrying out the responsibilities that were being entrusted to me. So in 2005, Ojiti Wamrwanyamuli retired. He had served for about 11 years, almost 12, as Katikkiro, because he became Katikkiro. Damla was handed to him in July 1994. And he relinquished it in December 2005. I also retired with him. Then in 2007, while I wasn't filling a ministerial position here in the Kabaka's government, I was asked by the Katikkiro, the acting Katikkiro then, Oweekitiibwa Emmanuel Ssendaula, to do a radio program called Tunulira Amawulire every Friday on 89.2. And he told me that the Kabaka wanted me to do that program to explain the goings on in the kingdom at that time. I mean, when the Kabaka asks you to do something, you do it. You do it. He asked me to do it, and I wasn't a minister, but then I had to do it because he's the Kabaka. So I started that radio program from 2007. I think January, I forget. Then, towards the end of 2007, again, Oweekitiibwa Ssendaula was acting Katikkiro, called me in this very office. I think he was sitting in this office because he was the acting Katikkiro. This is the Katikkiro's office. And he said, the Kabaka is going to name a new Katikkiro, Oweekitiibwa John Baptist Walusimbi. And the Kabaka wants you to work with him as Minister for Cabinet Affairs, Luchika Affairs, Information and Kingdom Spokesperson. Remember, I was Kingdom Spokesperson from 2002 to 2005. When Oweekitiibwa Mulwanyammuli retired, I retired with him. And that position was filled by other people. The position of being spokesperson and information was filled by other people. First by the late Semugabi. The late Semugabi. You know. Then after that, there was an acting minister for information, Honorable Medard Segona. He wasn't actually acting, he was deputy minister for information. There was no substantive minister for information. So, Oweekitiibwa Ssendaula told me the Kabaka wanted him to serve as the substantive minister for information and kingdom spokesperson. So I bounced back, January 2008. And I was in that position. I was minister for cabinet and for Luchiko, for information and spokesperson until May 2013 when I was named Katikkiro. Again, because that's where this question started. How did I position myself to become Katikkiro? None. I didn't position myself in any way. The story is very long. I think I should start writing about my autobiography or something. But again, I had no strategy of becoming Katikkiro. Actually, I thought that I would retire with Oweekitiibwa J.B. Walusimbi. Because when Oweekitiibwa J.B. Walusimbi gave his maiden speech in I think it was February 2008, he said he was going to serve as Katikkiro for only 4 years. That's what he said. He ended up serving 5. And because he had made that public statement about serving for only 4 years, although he served 5, I would tell my friends and colleagues, I'm winding up my service to the Kabaka when Oweekitiibwa Walusimbi relinquishes the Damula. Basically, because I felt I'd served for long enough. I started when I was really, really young in 1991. This is 2000 and probably 12 when he had said he would relinquish the Damula. That's some amount of years, over 20 years really, you know. And I thought, I've paid my 5 cents, but that wasn't to be. So in May 12th, it was a Sunday, the announcement was made that I was the new Katikkiro. Here I am, close to 10 years in this position.
That is such an inspiring story. You know, it brings out the idea of service above self. You spoke about your learning some of these ideas and the true ideologies of how Baganda should have been and how they've been treated badly. And I suppose the young parents of today and the parents of today should, take the time to explain to the coming generation about all these ideas. So, coming to your own personal family, how has it aided your being successful in this position? Your immediate family today?
Like my own family?
Yes.
Well, I'm happily married, and I'm fortunate that, but she's only encouraged me, given me support all the way. There was a time when people would tell me, why don't you end your service to the Kabaka? I was abducted, I've experienced difficulties. And some people would tell me to give up the service to the Kabakas. People were telling me, but you played your role. What more do you want? She never told me those things. If she had, probably I would have given it a second thought. Like, why not end my service to the Kabaka? She never said such things. She only supported me on the way. In that sense, I've been helped that she's that kind of person. And of course, my children support me all the way. All the way. A home is the first port of call. When you get a bad day, the people who get to know about it are members of your family. You go back home and you're dejected. You go back home and you're tired. You go back home and you're anxious. The people to see this are members of your family. Now, when they support you, you overcome these things. So for me, the home is therapeutic. When I'm exhausted, I look forward to going back home. And in any case, when you go home, you're not the Katikkiro anyway. You're a dad or you're a husband. You throw off all this garb about your public office and you're yourself. When I'm home, I'm in shorts, I'm in a vest. I'm relaxed. I raise my feet onto the coffee table and I watch a favorable program. I watch a movie, I watch football, I watch sports. Whatever I want to watch on TV. Or I read a book I enjoy to read. So, how your home treats you contributes a lot to your success, especially in leadership. Because if the home is toxic, then you're in trouble. Because by and large, public offices are very stressful. By and large. You need to go back to a home and get. That's why I say the home should be therapeutic. To rejuvenate you, so to speak. But when the home is toxic, you're in trouble. But I'm lucky, like I told you. My wife has supported me, my children have supported me. There's good, tasty food in my home, that's important. You eat what you enjoy, it's very important. The home is clean, that's important. It's quiet, that's important. So yeah, my family has contributed to me greatly, but also my wider family, my siblings. I've got a large family, I've got a wide family, because where I come from, we are very, very close to each other. So my nephews and nieces are like my own children, really, and they're always with me. My brothers and my sisters, they're very close to me. They're always there, with me. They've given me tremendous support. We call ourselves the tribe. I think you know that. We call ourselves the tribe, because we work very closely together. We are close, we argue, we debate issues, we laugh, at times we celebrate big days together. Last year we went to Masaka in our home village. It was absolutely beautiful. So yeah, my family has given me tremendous support.